welcome to this explainer. We're diving right into the ultimate 2025 smartphone showdown today. You know how it goes. Every September, the tech world completely holds its breath for Apple's newest lineup. And this year, well, the iPhone 17 series is arguably one of the biggest evolutionary leaps we've seen in a really long time. But if you're standing in an Apple store right now, or you've got two tabs open on your browser, the choice isn't exactly crystal clear. So today, we're going to cut through the noise and figure out which of Apple's flagship devices is actually the right fit for you.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the $400 question, move on to bridging the feature gap, then we'll look at power and thermal management, break down the camera divide, and finally, we'll wrap it up with our final verdict. Let's jump right in. All right, part one, the $400 question, setting the stakes.
We have to start this explainer by addressing the elephant in the room, the very real, very noticeable financial gap between these two beautiful pieces of glass and metal. $400. The base model iPhone 17 starts at $799 for 256 gigabytes of storage. Meanwhile, the iPhone 17 Pro Max, that one commands $1,199 for that exact same starting storage capacity. Now, to be fair, Apple actually doubled the base storage for the standard 17 this year without hiking the price, which is a fantastic, super consumer-friendly move. But still, that $400 gap, it's definitely there.
And look, $400 is not a trivial amount of money, right? You could literally buy a brand new pair of AirPods Pro, an Apple Watch, or, just keep that cash in your wallet. Which really begs the ultimate question that's going to guide our whole analysis today. What exactly does $400 buy you in 2025? Are you paying for tools you actually need, or just a luxury status symbol? Moving to section 2, bridging the feature gap and how the base model catches up. To answer that question, we've got to look at the standard iPhone 17 first, because it just got its most significant design and feature refresh in years. The absolute game changer here is ProMotion. For years, Apple frustratingly kept high refresh rate screens locked behind their Pro models, even while budget Android phones were getting it, but not anymore. This previously Pro-exclusive feature has finally made its way to the base model iPhone 17, because it can dynamically shift from a buttery smooth 120 Hz all the way down to a battery-saving 1 Hz. It completely transforms the experience for gamers and casual scrollers alike. But Apple didn't stop there. The base model upgrades this year are honestly huge. The standard 17 now rocks a slightly larger 6.3-inch screen that hits a blinding 3,000 nits of peak brightness. That's a massive 50% increase over the iPhone 16. Plus, it finally gets the always-on display and a massive bump to a 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera, which means your landscape and macro shots are going to be vastly sharper. The standard iPhone 17 has effectively bridged the gap. I mean, it's so good, it really makes that $400 upcharge seem a lot harder to justify at first glance. Which brings us to section 3, power and thermal management. Let's look under the hood. So how exactly does the Pro Max build its case? Well, it's mostly where you can't easily see it, deep inside the chassis. The engine driving these two devices is entirely different. The standard iPhone 17 is incredibly snappy with the A19 chip and 8 gigabytes of RAM. But the Pro Max, it packs the A19 Pro. This thing is an absolute powerhouse. It's got neural accelerators in each core and 12 gigabytes of RAM. That is a massive 50% increase in memory. And why does that matter? Apple Intelligence. That extra memory is absolutely crucial for keeping all those complex, privacy-focused AI features running smoothly right there on your device without ever having to offload your private data to some cloud server.
But, as we know, with immense power comes immense heat. To handle that, Apple gave the Pro Max an exclusive internal cooling system called vapor chamber cooling. This is actually a first for iPhones. It uses deionized water running through a tiny chamber to literally carry heat away from the A19 Pro chip. It's designed specifically to completely prevent thermal throttling when you're doing really intensive, prolonged tasks.
And, this brilliantly illustrates a deeply controversial choice Apple made this year. They actually downgraded the Pro Max frame from that premium titanium we saw in the 15 and 16 and went back to aluminum. A lot of people online immediately cried cost-cutting. But the reality? It wasn't that at all. Aluminum conducts heat 20 times better than titanium. It was a pure engineering decision that works perfectly in tandem with that vapor chamber, ultimately giving the Pro Max 40% better sustained performance during heavy gaming or 4K video rendering. All right, part 4, the camera divide. Dual versus triple sensors. Let's be real. Cameras are often the single biggest reason people choose to upgrade their phone. So let's break down the physical differences on the back here. The base model introduces a super sleek vertical pill-shaped bump that houses two highly capable 48-megapixel sensors. But there's a catch. It relies entirely on digital zoom past 2x, meaning the quality definitely drops off the closer you push in. The Pro Max, on the other hand, features a massive horizontal camera shelf stretching across the back. It houses a triple camera system, adding a dedicated 48-megapixel telephoto lens right into the mix.
So let's look at exactly what that Pro Max camera shelf can actually do, because these are basically exclusive superpowers. That telephoto lens gives you true 4x optical zoom, and it uses Apple's Fusion technology to achieve an 8x optical quality zoom. It can digitally push all the way to 40x. Plus, it unlocks professional-grade ProRes RAW video recording and a seriously cool dual front and rear video recording feature. If you're a professional creator shooting wildlife, concerts, or reaction vlogs, these exclusive zoom and video capabilities make the Pro Max an uncompromising creative workstation. And hey, speaking of creative workstations, we've got to talk about storage. Because professional features like ProRes RAW will literally consume hundreds of gigabytes per hour of footage. Standard storage just isn't going to cut it. To solve this, Apple is offering a massive exclusive 2 terabyte storage tier just for the Pro Max. If you are shooting high-end video on the regular, this isn't just a luxury, it's a practical necessity. Finally, Section 5, the final verdict. Which iPhone or you? Now that we've translated all these technical specs and engineering choices, let's tie it all together and figure out which of these devices actually belongs in your pocket. Here is the reality for the vast majority of consumers. If you want a phone that is comfortable to hold with one hand, if you just really want that buttery 120 Hz ProMotion screen, and if you're mostly just snapping family photos where you rarely zoom past 2x, the standard iPhone 17 is your absolute winner. Honestly, it delivers 80% of the premium Pro Max experience for just 67% of the cost. It is arguably the single best value in Apple's entire 2025 lineup. But if you are a professional creator who genuinely needs advanced video tools, or maybe a heavy traveler who relies on that incredible 39-hour battery endurance, if you play graphically demanding mobile games for hours on end, or you just demand the absolute pinnacle of Apple's engineering, with that massive 6.9-inch screen and enough serious hardware headroom to last you the next 5 to 7 years, well, then the iPhone 17 Pro Max completely justifies every single penny of its price tag. Just take a quick look at this final cheat sheet here. It perfectly summarizes exactly what that $400 price difference actually buys you in terms of scale, memory, and endurance. You're looking at the bump up to a 6.9-inch screen, that crucial leap from 8 to 12 gigabytes of RAM for AI tasks, and a battery that goes from highly capable to virtually unkillable. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over before you hit that checkout button. Look at the device you currently own right now and ask yourself honestly, are you paying for power and capabilities you will actually use in your day-to-day life? Or are you just paying for power you want to have? Answer that, and you'll know exactly which iPhone 17 to buy. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.